Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. For this video, as usual, let's go over the market. Let's go over Tesla because Tesla is performing very unusually today, very abnormally. I'll be honest, it's not something I expected, not to this level at least. I did think maybe 200 or like just slightly above, like for instance what we had here. Did not expect to go to all pretty much 210 at this point. That is much higher than I honestly thought it would go. But that's kind of just what Tesla does sometimes, right? So all that being said, of course, the market just closed. Tesla ending the day at 209 and 29 cents, which is about a 7.5% increase, which is phenomenal compared to the market. So it just feels like whenever the market's going up a lot, Tesla's just down. And when the market's kind of red or whatever, or like, I guess QQQ is up 0.75%, I guess, but like Tesla's severely outperforming the market today. So yeah, let's just talk about it. Let's figure out what is going on, what we can expect moving forward, and all that stuff. As usual, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. And again, I'm not a financial advisor. Make your own decisions. This is not financial advice. All that good stuff. So first and foremost, the good thing to notice is the fact that this did happen on actually, somewhat increased volume. Still not insane volume, but definitely increased volume, which is actually honestly, on a move like this, definitely what you want to see. If this move happened right here and the volume was still this lower, especially lower, this without question 100% would have been an absolutely massive bull trap, like unquestionably. But that being said, because this did happen on slightly increased volume, this makes this potentially, keyword is potentially, more plausible and potentially a good sign. So we'll see, of course, what it comes down to, but there are, of course, also still some bad signs. So first and foremost, Tesla is up today seemingly randomly. But today was, of course, CPI, which came in year over year a little bit higher or hotter, I guess, than expected, which isn't great, which is why the market is flat to green, which is interesting. The QQQ is just up randomly while SPY is just pretty much flat, down 0.04%. So it's very unusual day, to be completely honest with you. The fact that even QQQ was up this much, probably because of Tesla, NVIDIA, of course, being up 5.5%. But on a day where, QQQ came in, the CPI came in hotter than expected, it's just a little strange, because you would think that's bearish, not bullish. So I don't know, the market's in a very weird situation right now. It's very hard to really truly determine what's going on next. So one thing very quickly to note on the SPY is the fact that you can see it is in this potential little bull flag, you can say, that arguably broke out of, but it's just very close. So we'll see where that actually leads to. But Tesla, of course, like I said, was also in an arguable bull flag that kind of bounced between and did break out and came up to 210. Now the question is, will it go higher than this? Now this is going to be interesting. This is hard to say. This is a very peculiar position. Bias aside, it does seem like Tesla wants to move a little bit higher, right? There's definitely a chance that it comes up to at least 213, if not maybe all the way up to that level that we were talking about before, which is around that maybe even 220-ish level. But there is a chance that all it does is comes over and retests the recent drawdown, right? Because before I had the two lines here, if you remember, right, it was something like I think something like this or something like that. Something like this is what we had, right? And then it broke down, right? And then like this, blah, blah, blah. So there's a chance that it comes up to retest this, breakdown that it had, which will pretty much put it actually really close to around 210. Let's say it happens tomorrow. That would be essentially Tesla around 220 rather, sorry. Which is possible. So there's a chance it comes up just to retest this breakdown. And then we'll see what happens from there. It can absolutely just simply get rejected, right? And then make its way back down and actually continue to follow. That is definitely a possibility. Though if it goes higher than this level over here, which is around that 213, 214 level, that does make this situation a little more peculiar as well. So it's a very confusing spot that Tesla is in. It's very hard to determine where it's going from here. But I definitely think the 220 option, especially to retest this breakdown, has absolutely been unlocked. So that wouldn't completely surprise me, especially considering it did seemingly break out of this potential bull flag-ish that you can consider that it was in, right? So that's definitely a possibility as well. But it's not all roses and sunshine from here, and the reason is because, well, it is showing some signs of a bearish divergence still. So on the 1 hour, for instance, you can see as Tesla is still overall ultimately making its way up, it's still very much making its way down. And you can see as Tesla went down here, it made a very lower low from the recent uptrend on the RSI for the 1 hour chart. So that's not great. That's not what you want to see. And this determines like the next movement for maybe the next like week, I would say, roughly, give or take, maybe slightly less, maybe the next 5 days ish, something like that, right? So keep that in mind. You can also look on something like the 15-minute chart, for instance, maybe even the 5-minute chart. But let's say the 15-minute chart. This gives you an idea you know, maybe for the next day or two, right? You know, it's not looking too bad, right? It's not looking too bad. It's looking pretty okay on the 15-minute chart. You know, it did go substantially lower as well on this move. You can see it made essentially a lower low since a very long time ago, since all the way pretty much back here when we were trading like well down, well below us, right? It pretty much went to that general level, even though we're still all the way up here. So that's a little concerning. So this tells me that, you know, there is still potential steam up, but overall the trend still feels, at least, again, trying to remove all bias aside, it does still feel down, right? It does still feel that even after this move right here, that this will ultimately be a bull trap and we will ultimately make our way down. Whether it's from here, whether it's 220 first and then from there, it still feels like that, right? Just based on what I'm seeing. Same thing on the RSI for the daily, which is of course a much longer time frame, maybe for the next, you know, half a month to a month at least, if not maybe even slightly more, right? You can see we did break out, and it's short term looking like, yeah, we can move up a little bit higher for sure, maybe 220 like I said, but you know, we are essentially making a candle close higher today than we've had in, you know, quite a while, right? Any of this recent movement, this is the highest closure candle we've had, which again, short term is a good sign. But you can see on the RSI, even though this candle is higher, this candle's closure is higher than where we were back when this RSI was hit, right? Which again, you can see is going to be this candle right here, which we closed at 207, and today of course we closed higher. The RSI is meaningfully lower, which again is the signs of a bearish divergence being set up as well. So just things to keep in mind, right? This doesn't mean that we have to just ultimately crash, right? Especially these bearish divergences, they're kind of like lagged indicators where they don't just happen instantly. It just kind of gives you an idea of what's to potentially come. And this again tells me that, you know, regardless of the move here, and regardless, even if we still go up to 220, I do still strongly believe that this is going to be a bull trap. And again, I don't want to sound, I hate sounding bearish, I really don't, trust me, I want to be bullish, I really do, but it's hard to be medium term bullish here. It really is, especially after such a run up, even if we go up a little bit higher, right? Again, short term potentially bullish, potentially, but again, the risk reward to me is still not there. I personally wouldn't be playing the upside. Of course, you know, do your own, you know, make your own decisions, right? Play what you want to play. I personally wouldn't play this upside potential, mainly because I do think the risk versus reward is just not there, because there's a lot more room to fall than, in my opinion, there is room to go up from this specific moment that we are, situation that we find ourselves in right as of today. So just keep that in mind. That's just the way I view it, right? The risk versus reward is just very, very little for upside. However, with that being said, you know, same thing to, you know, that happened over here, you know, when I was constantly bearish, you know, people were upset thinking that we're going to like 400, you know, and of course that obviously didn't happen. So I don't want to be a bear, trust me, I don't want to say bearish things, but I kind of just see it, I say what I see, right? And I know we have investor day coming up, a lot of people are excited, but more often than not, Tesla sells off. You kind of like buy the rumor, sell the news essentially, and that's usually what happens with Tesla events. You know, it's hype into the event, and maybe Tesla rallies a little bit into the event, and then almost always it sells after, right? Because the event maybe wasn't as hyped up as everyone thought it would be, or something like that. Just keep that in mind. It's a pretty common trend. Doesn't mean it has to happen this time, but you know, definitely a possibility. And again, you know, I don't want to sound bearish going into such a, you know, fantastic event that I'm excited for, of course, but you know, again, separating TSLA and TESLA, it's very important to do that, in my opinion. But that's kind of what I'm seeing. But let's take a look at very quickly at the indicators, where the 21 EMA is still well above it. We're of course still well above the median, if you will, on the Bollinger Band. You can see the white line, which I still think will absolutely come down to at some point. It always comes down there, right? Just a matter of where, or when rather. The 100-day moving average, we're still above that, right? We have the 50-day, we're still well above that. The 200 is somewhere well above us. We can check when it gets closer, if it gets closer. If we get to 220, then we'll start checking the 200, but we're still, you know, not really concerned about that just yet. And you can see we're actually above the 5 and the 10. So like I said, short term, yeah, it looks like Tesla still has some momentum left. It still has some potential, you know, rallying left. And again, I didn't think it'd go back above 200, but it obviously did. So we have to readjust our situation here. And again, the readjustment is the fact that, yeah, you know what, because of this, especially if we can push above this level right here, which is pretty much 210. If we can push above 210/213, I definitely think 220 is absolutely unlocked, and we most likely will just head straight there. And then I think from there is where roughly we will most likely find the true like, you know, rejection, where honestly, if we get there, I personally might be entering some puts on Tesla as well, because I definitely think that is the level to reject. But again, I'll see it as it comes. None of this is financial advice. This is just my opinion, of course, as per usual. And that's essentially the main things that I am personally seeing, guys. So again, the market is a very weird, finicky spot, right? It's a very peculiar position to be in, especially for Tesla. So just be careful. That's all I'm gonna say. This feels like a situation where I think bulls and bears alike are just gonna, if you're, especially for day trading, are gonna get caught a lot. And especially if you're swing trading a lot of different things, it's a very, very tough situation to trade in because it feels like it's just going all over the place. Like today, for instance, it went up here, then it completely got collapsed back down all the way to 196, and it seemed like, yeah, okay, that was a bull trap for sure. And then this seemed like a bear trap, and then it just rocketed back up above 200, right? So that was like a bull trap into a bear trap, and then it was kind of confusing here, wasn't really sure where to go, and then it finally broke out, and it's like, okay, now is a bull trap setting up, right? There's a lot of traps being set up here, so this is just a situation where you want to be very careful. And again, if you're going to be someone that says, oh, I'm a long-term investor, Tesla's going to all-time highs, then I don't know why you're even watching this video if you're an investor, which again, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. That is a completely valid strategy, not like 100%, but I don't know why you're watching a video about trading it. Essentially, that'd be kind of weird, right? But yeah, so ultimately, guys, TLDR, the very quick rundown is the fact that Tesla seems to have a little bit more momentum left in it. If it goes above this kind of 210 to 213-ish level, I think it'll go to 220, most likely retest this little downtrend or this uptrend that it was in, that it broke down out of, and make a retest of it. And I think from there, it will get an ultimate rejection. And then I think ultimately we'll make our way back down. And I still think this mid 150s is still in play. It's just, of course, as usual, especially Tesla will find the most difficult way to get there as possible and essentially trap as many people as possible as it can. And that's just kind of how Tesla usually works. But all that being said and done, that's kind of what I'm seeing. So let me know what you guys think down below. But yeah, I'll see you for tomorrow's update. I think tomorrow will be another interesting day, and yeah, we'll see where Tesla goes. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.